So there's another type of variable which I haven't talked about, and that type is going to be a var. So normally when you create stuff, you do an int num1 is equal to 42, or string my name is equal to Luke Skywalker. However, if you have a variable and you don't know what the type is, you could just say var something like my number is equal to 12. And what the compiler will do is it will look at this variable, it will look at what is getting put in there, and will figure out what type of variable and how much storage it should actually be using. So if we say get type on this, this will print out that it is a system int32 for a number which has a type of var. If I say var my number to 12.42, for instance, this will now say system.double. It is going to default to a double. There is an extra character you can add at the end, and it's on one of the upper tables. You can add a UL, F, D, or M. So if I add an M to the end of this, that will explicitly state that this is supposed to be a decimal. Notice that this is a system.decimal, even though, well, that is much smaller than a decimal. If I do a F, for instance, this will explicitly state that this is supposed to be a float, system.single. Which system.single, if I change this from a var to a float, run this, notice that system.single is what is also known as a float. That's the one weird thing, is that's a float. Everything else is kind of a one-to-one mapping between what the actual name is. So the var is a way to create a variable that you may not know the type ahead of time, and when you start putting something in there, then it will lock that variable into that type. 12.42. Now once it is locked into that type, you cannot change it to a different type. So notice that I'm trying to put a string inside of a var, which is locked to a, in this case, this is a double. And this is the IntelliSense coding is going to complain, saying you cannot convert source type string into target type double. So it automatically recognizes that, hey, this is a double that we're putting in there, even though you said var. And so it's going to tell you, hey, that's not going to work. And when we try to compile this, we're going to get cannot implicitly convert type string to double. And so again, once you put a var type, it locks it to that specific one. Where you'll see var used a lot is in for loops, for each loops, stuff like that, to where you may be iterating through an object or a class or an array of classes, and you need to grab all of that, and you may not actually know what that class is. You can just put a var and it will figure out what it is as it's going through those loops.